This week we're taking a look at the remake of the trauma classic, The Toxic Avenger. The film premiered at Fantastic Fest way back in 2023, and then The Toxic Avenger sat on the shelf for a year or two. The rumor being that the movie was so violent it was deemed unreleasable. After watching it, I think distributors were just generally worried that this movie wouldn't connect with audiences. So, I don't know about all that hype.
Yeah, do you think this is a reboot, not a remake?
It's definitely a reboot because it's new characters and it's an attempt to do a fresh take on it.
Sure. I mean, while still retaining the original, I guess,
character
idea of the character. Yeah, sure.
Pretty much that's it, right? It's all new stuff. And, this movie was in development for a long time. We've been hearing about the possibility of a Toxic Avenger reboot
forever.
For 20 years.
Yep.
And it really feels like they kind of missed their opportunity. This movie should have been made in like 2007 with James Gunn.
Yeah.
It's like 20, I don't know. It really didn't work for me, to be honest.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I would say there were parts that did work for me. Overall, I think the movie did work, but I could see how fans of the original might not connect with this one, and non-fans who've never seen anything might also not connect with this movie.
I think that's fair to say, because I don't think this movie did particularly well. Unfortunately, I think the tone is way off, and the movie is kind of a mess. Like, the pacing was very bad. The movie takes a long time to get going, and then it just never really feels like it pays off. I watched this in theaters when it came out in 2025, and then I just watched this again for the podcast, and I can't imagine I would ever watch this again. It does follow through on gore and graphic violence, but I wasn't even super impressed with the VFX or the character design. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a similar thing with Frankenstein, where it's like they probably did have practical gore effects, but there's so much CG and CG blood painted over everything. It becomes very sleek and fake looking.
Yeah.
And just like kind of loses the fun of the original gore.
Which, to talk back about Toxic Avenger 1982, right? That's when it came out. That thing, super low budget, and the gore effects are horrible, but they are still practical effects, right? Someone's blood.
You're not being completely fair, because there's some effects in it that you see the seams of, but there's also some amazing effects. And the transformation scene that Jennifer Aspinall does in the original Toxic Avenger is amazing and way more impressive than the transformation sequence that you get in this new version of the Toxic Avenger.
Oh, certainly.
So I don't think that criticism is really warranted.
Well, here's let me finish my thought. It was practical back in the day, and so when someone's pouring blood down their head, they were pouring blood all over that person's head. They were like fake puking, and like they had prosthetics and stuff. And while they got a armed man to put a fake arm on him and rip it off. And that scene, I remember making me feel sick just watching it. And it was like that. It's over the top and it's outrageous and it's kind of corny, but it almost feels a little more grounded because of how zany the whole world is. Whereas here, when there's plenty of like gore effects that are actually pretty outrageous, if they did it like, if they were able to have eyeballs and stuff shoot out when a thing goes through someone's head back in the day, they probably would have. But now it's so, like you said, covered with CGI that the whole thing feels like a cartoon, or at least and when the kills are cartoons, the impact is kind of gone because it's completely fake. It's not even...
Yeah, well, I was kind of wondering what you thought about the effects in this movie, because I assume there are a lot of practical effects and they are actually doing stuff on set. It just has so much CG and fake, and like the fake CG blood.
Yeah,
really.
I think the fake blood always looks bad. Yeah. Try to do, if you can, on set, real blood. The thing is, real blood's a mess, and you got to put plastic down on everything, and if you have exploding blood, you can't do it inside unless you have a whole set.
But this movie had a lot of money.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I don't really see the point. It's spending $20 million to make something like this.
It's a mid-budget movie trying to capture low-budget intrigue, but I think with that, it's got faster
it's trying
production.
To be like it's trying to be like this kind of edgy avant-garde thing from the 80s, but it isn't. It's a not. Big, expensive studio thing
made in 2023
with the aesthetic of being like a exploitation movie. And
right?
The whole thing feels kind of shallow and just like a farce.
It's a farce. I mean, the originals are clearly farces. They're exploitation. They're like something to the nth degree. Everything's pushed to 15.
This is part of my problem with trying to talk about or review this movie. movie. If you on paper, it really kind of makes sense, and like it's like, okay, this makes enough sense to be a new Toxic Avenger movie. It is cartoony. The original was also cartoony, but somewhere along the way, it just doesn't really work.
It's because this one tries to ground itself. It
sure.
tries to give you some heart, and it tries to give you some like. It's got modern writing all over it, you know. Like Peter Dinklage literally saves a cat in the beginning, and that's a whole book by Blake Snyder about script writing and how you got to have your lead character save a cat at the beginning to like care about him, right? And so with that in mind, this script was written for a modern audience with this modern writing style, and it does things like, you know, be critical of healthcare and chemical industries.
It does, but the satire in this movie also feels like it has no budget.
No, exactly. That's because people have tragic backstories and clear stances on current things, and it's all safe and acceptable by today's standards. Whereas when the original Toxic came out, that shit was so fucking bonkers and so outrageous and so like, you know, gross that it really isn't trying to ground itself in anything, you know, like heartfelt or it's not trying to make you feel like it's a serious movie. The thing is like over the top from the beginning to the end. Whereas this, we try to like establish characters and like, oh, his son, you know, we're trying to give you heartstrings when you're saying it kind of feels a little bit forced and untoxy-like.
Yeah, like I'm not necessarily even, you know, I can totally like the idea of satirizing the healthcare industry and pharmaceutical companies is totally, you know, a thing that's good for father of that type of thing. But it's just not done in a way that has like any teeth to it. It feels very bland and generic and like doesn't really have the balls to say anything. Yeah, unfortunately.
Exactly. It just feels safe.
It really tries to. It feels like this movie is trying very hard to be subversive and edgy. It just doesn't really have the balls to do that.
You can't do it. Yeah.
So I don't know. It was honestly hard for me to think of positive things to say about this movie. It is obvious when you watch it that the director was a fan of the original series, and there's lots of nods to it, even though it doesn't really. If you want to see another Toxic Avenger, it's really not that. It does feel quite disappointing, at least I thought. What did you think, Russ? I'm definitely not going to recommend this one. I will give this one 2 stars. What do you think?
I would, you know what? I think it works as a modern movie. I think it's got the qualities that you need, a beginning, a middle, and end. It's got some
definitely
parts,
got a beginning, middle, and end.
You know, and like I'm saying, it follows the structure that Hollywood has adapted for screenplays. You gotta, by page 20, have him save the cat, and they literally do that, et cetera, et cetera. So it just...
Oh, you're saying it's very much by the books, the screenplay.
I think it is. I think it is, and that's why...
Don't you think it took a long time for him to become the Toxic Avenger and start doing stuff? It does seem like...
Wouldn't that be the break into Act 2, right?
Maybe you're right, but I don't know. For me, it felt like a very long slog to get to the actual Toxic Avenger part of this movie.
Sure, yeah.
And it definitely lost me. The original Toxic Avenger, like this movie opens with like people running kids over with a car.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's so kind of jarring and harsh instantly. And this one is so tame. It just feels like throwing the Toxic Avenger into any like shitty dramedy.
Right. Again, it's kind of got so many modern things that it can't be what the original was. Everybody's performance in the original movie is like, I'm a fucking psychopath.
Well, also this movie has real actors.
Yeah, so it's got real actors. So, but besides that, I think the direction didn't tell him amp it up to 20. You know, don't be level 7, be level 20 in the original. Whereas this one, I think they're trying to be somewhat. You know, it's definitely parody and there's goofiness, but I think they are trying to ground it.
Yeah, but did you enjoy the performances in this film? Because I thought Peter Dinklage was fucking terrible.
Oh, yeah?
His performance is atrocious.
It's funny you say that because going in, that was going to be my expectation. I was
that he wasn't going to be good.
In fact, the first lines in the movie are...
I didn't want any of this. Not the grief, not the illness. Certainly not the heroic voiceover. That's not who I am. But sometimes you gotta do something.
I'm thinking it's almost like it's actually Peter Dinklage being like, I didn't want to do this movie, but across town they made me.
I assume part of his agreeing to do this movie was the fact that he had to be there for 5 days. Mm-hmm. He's not in the costume.
I read that he's not in the costume.
Yeah, it's
but
a
I read
little
that
Mexican lady.
He performed the scenes. She watched him perform those scenes and did that, and then he came back and recorded the dialogue. But even still, that you can do that from your home. You don't have to be on set.
I would assume it was a pretty sweet deal for him, and he got a good check to do very little work.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. And it shows. It's really a terrible performance from Peter Dinklage. I think he should be ashamed of himself. I'm joining in with all the midgets who hate Peter Dinklage.
Okay.
I'm on their side.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy to tell people, like, you can't have midgets in a movie and then make the Toxic Avenger a midget.
A midget, right? Here's the thing. The original...
Also, him as a midget doesn't work. He's too small and doesn't make him, like, he's just not scary.
He's got a broom... it's a mop that looks like a glowing broom that essentially functions like a bludgeoning sword. And that's the scary part about him, Gary, is that he's got a toxic sword that can chop your jaw off. Toxie's makeup, I think, was the best looking Toxie makeup ever.
I can disagree with you profoundly.
In every other movie, it's just his head and then some brown makeup smeared on his arms.
You're wrong. The original Toxic Avenger, the makeup is amazing. You're thinking of the sequels.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of the sequels.
Yeah, this Toxic Avenger, he looked terrible, and he looks like the Toxic Crusader.
Which was the fourth one?
No, it's the cartoon character. He looks like they modeled him after the cartoon character. And even when you see the Toxic Avenger makeup in full daylight, the detail is so bad. It's like the veins are like drawn on. It looks like a cartoon character. It's terrible.
It's a little bit cornball. I felt like I didn't like the design. I'll say that. I didn't like the design, but I thought the full body makeup felt a little more felt fuller body than what I remember Toxie being. But maybe, again, I'm not remembering the first one.
The first one is where they use an actual prosthetic on the face.
Right.
It looks pretty great.
He's got a big black eye in this one, and that didn't look like an eye. The
eye was stupid.
So there's definitely design flaws, but I think as far as full body makeup went, it did the things for me. I think overall, I'm giving it a 3 because it functioned as a movie, and it had a couple of bits here and there that I chuckled at, but it definitely doesn't. It's forgettable, and it's not as hard-hitting and in-your-face as pretty much any trauma film before this.
My big problem with it is just that it's so boring. It was like really just not fun to watch, which is all you really have to pull off for something like this.
Right. I mean, that's what you want from the Toxic Avenger. Those things were just like, it's bonkers performances, it's bonkers gags, and people's heads getting crushed. Like you said, a child gets crushed in the first 3 minutes. They shoot a dog on screen later on, and just things you just cannot do in a Hollywood film.
If you're going to remake the Toxic Avenger and you don't have the balls to do those things, don't do it. It's just...
Make something else.
This movie had a decent enough budget, and with that comes some pretty well-known actors, mainly Peter Dinklage as the protagonist, Winston Goose, who in this version of the Toxic Avenger is a janitor at a pharmaceutical plant. After he becomes terminally ill and his health insurance won't cover the life-saving treatment, Winston pleads for help from his celebrity health guru boss, played by Kevin Bacon. And when his scummy employer refuses to help him, he takes matters into his own hands and attempts to steal money from the pharmaceutical plant. He's subsequently murdered by the villain's henchmen, who are a nu metal rap rock band called the Killer Nuts. They shoot him in the head and dump his body in toxic waste, which causes him to transform into the Toxic Avenger. And even the transformation scene is a disappointment. The original Toxic Avenger has an amazing transformation scene, and this really pales in comparison. It's a bunch of After Effects bullshit.
You're right. There's weird color changing, and he's on a green screen. The original had a bunch of like bubbling skin effects and some other crazy things ripping through his shirt.
Bunch of great practical stuff. It's very memorable. And this one... just so not memorable. And then we're left with, and this is the interesting thing, when I first heard that Peter Dinklage was cast as the Toxic Avenger, I was like, well, what's the angle on this? Is it that he's going to be Melvin, and then when he turns into the Toxic Avenger, he turns into a big monster, and it's just going to be Peter Dinklage's voice? I did not assume that they were going to make the Toxic Avenger a small person, which really doesn't work. He's really not a Frankenstein monster anymore. He's a little tiny. You would miss him if you
trip on him.
Came into contact with him. Yeah. So him bursting into a place to save the day is a little bit weird.
Right. Because in the original, Melvin was like a small wimp, and then he turns into a super jacked mutant.
Yeah, it goes from being, the nerdy actor to the bodybuilder who plays the shape of Toxie. And he gets a big, deep voice when he turns to the Toxic Avenger. So I was almost wondering if Peter Dinklage wasn't even going to be in this movie at all. He was just going to be the voice of the Toxic Avenger. And it was almost like a joke on, after this guy turns into a big monster, we get a little guy to do his voice, which would have been kind of funny in an ironic way.
Sure.
But no, we get a full-on disabled Toxic Avenger character. I guess he's always disabled after the accident, but we get a little tiny Toxic Avenger.
Tiny Toxie.
Questionable choice.
Here's the thing. Old trauma movies might have...
Here's the thing, Gary. This Toxic Avenger is completely normal height. They actually casted a normal-heighted person as his character, and I'm all for it.
No, like in the old trauma movies, a joke would be, there's a little person, and they're having sex with somebody,
Is this Peter Dinklage's revenge for Lloyd Kaufman exploiting midgets for years?
Maybe. And now this one is like they just cast a little person and gave him a stepson to reconcile.
And also,
made him a person rather
no
than
other little people allowed in the movie as per Peter Dinklage.
I mean, except for Toxie's actual body double, but
she's not a little person.
No, she's just little.
She's just a woman. Women are just small.
Is that right?
That's right.
She's
just a little tiny Mexican lady.
They really should have cast Beetlejuice as Peter Dinklage's character. I think that would be. They should have just cast
Beetlejuice as the Toxic Avenger. That would have been an excellent movie.
Yeah, he turns from Peter
Ironically
Dinklage to Beetlejuice.
Yeah. Well, in the Toxic Avenger Part 4, Hank the Angry Drunken Dwarf plays God.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a scene where Toxic goes to heaven and God is a disabled midget.
And see, they picked him because he's kind of freakish. He's a small man, and the joke is, look at this tiny man. I don't think the joke here is
just the novelty of an interesting person.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think that's the joke here.
No, and here it's just for no reason.
You can't make a joke like that.
Just to make the story not make sense. Right. Like, why would this little guy be married to this tall lady with a kid? None of this makes fucking sense.
And if it was,
that's unfair. Midgets can marry tall people and have autistic kids who like to do dance numbers. It's not weird at all. It's not quirky to a unrealistic extent.
But also, it's not being tongue in cheek as a previous trauma movie would do, right?
Oh, you don't think so? I mean, I feel like it is kind of being tongue in cheek. It really misses the mark. It's like, I don't know, man.
Because I think an old trauma movie would be like, hey, he's short. Look, this one was just like, he's short. Look, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Instead of like, it's a freak show, it's just like, here's his character.
They're making a point of not even really delving into the novelty of him being small. Right. It's just like just to cast an interesting people, which is like a thing that a lot of movies do now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's fine. That's not really my problem with it. I just thought the movie was unfunny and boring.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't really care if there's a midget in it. And that could have been good.
Yeah.
There's a similar scene to the original film where the Toxic Avenger bursts into a hostage situation in a fast food restaurant. And once again, this scene is trying very much to be edgy, but it becomes another example of how tame this version of the movie is in comparison to the original. There's a scene where the Toxic Avenger's future girlfriend, as a blind woman, is almost raped by a group of criminals. And they almost reference that in this, but they don't have the balls to really do it to the extent they did in the original.
No threat of actual sexual assault here, just kind of
so why even reference it if you're not going to go for it?
As a wink, wink, nod, nod to those trauma fans.
People who saw it. Yeah, I guess so.
Say, we're cool. We're not totally throwing out everything that you loved about the original. Look, he's even referencing the sexual assault that they are threatening on a blind person.
The sexual assault of a blind woman, as well as, the blatant murder of a dog, which I believe has got the most hate mail in the history of trauma movies.
You cannot shoot a dog off screen, let alone right on screen. Horribly. Yeah.
With a graphic close-up.
Terrible. But there's no dog in this movie.
Yeah.
Period,
No, there are no dogs in this movie. That's because this movie was shot in Budapest and there's no dogs allowed.
Is that right?
I don't know if that's true, but did you notice this movie is shot overseas and you could tell by the buildings and things. It actually kind of gives it an interesting look. It does not look like New Jersey.
No, it's definitely not New Jersey. And it's not even supposed to be New Jersey.
No.
There's like a slight nod to Tromaville, but it's Saint something or other.
It's Saint Roma's Village. I thought that was so unnecessary and like...
Just call it Tromaville.
Just call it Tromaville. Or don't call it Tromaville, but I don't need the Easter egg to the thing. I don't know.
Nah.
Maybe I'm being nitpicky with this, Russ, but I really did not enjoy
They wanted
this
to
film.
make sure everybody who was a Troma fan got a nod. You know, it's a reboot, remake, sequel. Essentially, they did want you to know that there was love for the original behind it instead of just like throwing it out. But whether or not that comes across,
that's the best you could say about the filmmaker who made this version of the Toxic Avenger. At least he watched the original.
Yeah,
you know,
he's seen it.
Another scene I'd love to touch on, the music festival scene. This I also really hated. Peter Dinklage shows up. He takes over the PA at this music festival and attacks the rap rock Juggalo-esque band. Also, can I just be triggered that this movie is going after Juggalo so hard? Who the fuck do you think you are?
I figured that would get you.
You know, it's very smug though. It's like this Gen X punk rock guy trying to like be very dismissive of any music culture that's not. It's like, fuck you.
It was like a Gore reference almost.
There's a Gore reference?
I don't know, with Chicken Head guy. I don't know, like just costumed, bands.
I think he's really trying to like make fun of like nu metal music, like early 2000s rap rock.
Oh, okay.
Peter Dinklage, I'm sure Peter Dinklage, this Gen Xer is a big 80s punk rock fan, and so is the director. His scene where he does the little punk rock song is so cringe.
Yeah, that's pretty lame.
It was really lame. Fuck Peter Dinklage.
I wouldn't.
Oh, no?
I mean, maybe for money. He's Hollywood.
He's got a lot of money.
However I get in there,
Fortunately, he doesn't like midgets.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, or him.
Both. He's a self-loathing midget, Russ.
I see. Yeah, I think that scene also ticked me off, specifically because by this point in the movie, we have established like this cast, the silly nuts, whatever the hell they're called.
Killer Nuts.
This band who's got so many weird characters in it that kind of could be their own thing. And like Troma has a history of having just some weird characters, and so it wasn't too out of pocket. But what ultimately I didn't like about it is that each one had like a unique thing that could have had some sort of payoff. Like there's this ninja who just keeps doing these flips, and I thought that was a pretty silly gag. And then I was like, all right, maybe Toxie's gonna like blast his legs off, or he's gonna flip and on like straight onto his head onto Toxie's broom or something. But he ends up like flipping and then just exploding for no reason. And then like the chicken head guy, he pulls it off and he's got like a weird baby head. And I don't know, neither of these felt like payoffs. To me, they just kind of felt like weird.
The reveal on the baby head feels like it's supposed to be a big laugh, and like I just don't.
And then the woman, she sees this weird baby head, and she's like gagging or something. Mm-hmm. An older Troma movie, she would have puked. She would have puked all over that little baby's face, or something weird. But it just kind of, the head wasn't gross enough where she's be gagging. And the scene, I don't know. It felt like a shitty payoff.
I do feel it's like a little bit like on paper it does all kind of work and it makes sense. And I understand how these hooligans in this film are almost similar to the 80s punks and the original Toxic Avenger, but it still just doesn't work. It all just kind of falls flat, unfortunately.
And especially because he just goes through and all these special people are just slaughtered like anybody, There's no really super special thing about their deaths, and he just kind of goes through and blasts them all out in like 30 seconds,
Yeah.
So
none of the big gore scenes in this movie are really as memorable as anything in the Toxic Avenger. There is gore. I mean, they did make an attempt to, come through in that aspect of the film.
A lot of people's heads blowing up and their eyeballs flying around, but again, I think it just doesn't have the same impact as a real fake head being blasted to pieces,
Yeah, sure. The practicality. And again, just really overdoing it with the CG blood and stuff really ruins practical effects. I don't know why people do that.
I think it comes down, Gary, to having, you can do effects very cheap, right? You can do some cheap effects pretty effectively, but that takes time. You need setup. You need to dress the location, be able to take blood splatter and clean up and resets, etc.
Yeah.
And when you have, high-paid actors or just higher production, you're burning money every second. And so maybe on a smaller production where you only have 2 people working in a closet on this head punch effect, you now have however many cast and crew waiting around while you have to reset a head gag or do whatever. And so it's just easier to be like, all right, we'll worry about all that blood and stuff in post. And it's It's not my favorite.
No, I mean, it's detrimental in general, but I think it's especially detrimental to something like this. And yeah, your explanation is fine, but still, it's on the director. He shouldn't have done it that way.
No, you build the time in for the effects.
It's better to see the seams and have the effects look a little bit fake than to like overdo it with the CG and shit.
Because you see the seams. The seams are the effect itself, right? It's not even like...
Yeah, well, you know, I don't think this movie's going to have the type of longevity that the original had. And
certainly not.
I don't think The Toxic Avenger did very well in theaters, but it did do an interesting thing where they took their marketing budget, the producers of the film and the distributor Cineverse, and they partnered with a nonprofit called Undue Medical Debt to erase over $5 million, eventually reaching $15 million in medical debt. Instead of traditional marketing, funds were used to buy portfolios of unpaid medical debt for pennies on the dollar to relieve financial struggling families. So this movie might have been a waste of $20 million, but they raised $15 million for families struggling with medical debt. So really, it's only a waste of $5 million.
Well, there you go.
Which is kind of a bargain.
Yeah. You pay off a bunch of people's debt and, you know, make a shitty movie, $5 million. Yeah.
So something positive actually came of this subpar film, which is the most you can hope for, I guess.
Yeah, right?
To create images is always a challenge. Digital magic.